Hello, and welcome to I'm Too Busy. I'm Christina Flack, your host. I'm a celebrity makeup artist and CEO with a passion for all things beauty, wellness, and success. On this show, I'll take you on exciting journeys, sharing personal stories and insights from inspiring entrepreneurs. Together, we will explore manifestation, health, wellness, and the secrets to thriving in life and business. Let's jump in and get inspired. Hello, and welcome to I'm Too Busy. I'm Christina Flack, and today I have a very special guest. He is one of my favorite humans. This is Sankaet. He is the CEO and founder of Foundation Futures Industries. It's a robotics company developing autonomous humanoid robots designed to operate in the complex environments like defense, manufacturing, logistics, and other industries where labor challenges exist. In fact, I think you can see some of our friends in the back, the robots. Welcome. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, Christina. It's great to be
Thank
with you.
you. It is such an honor I've enjoyed working with you so much and just seeing your world. It's fascinating. Before we dive into the robotics and AI, I'd love to learn more about your journey getting to this
Yeah,
place.
yeah. Let's see. I was born and raised in India, so I was in India till I was 20. So I,
Wow.
by and large, grew up in a very small city in India, which now, when I recently went back to, seems not that small, and it's very disorienting because I hadn't been there for 15 years. But I
Wow.
grew up in a very small town. Um, my dad uh, was a doctor, my mom was a teacher. They kind of still are, and came from like a deeply academic background. So my parents emphasized the importance of science and education from a very early age. So I got like pretty technically inclined from a very early age, kind of um, puttering around with various electronics and writing code and doing all of these things. Like I was writing code since I was like 12 or something, and
Amazing.
um, finally decided that I wanted to leave India and always wanted to come to the US because I thought almost all the cool things in technology just happened here. And I wanted to obviously do more things in technology. So I was like, okay, if I really have to further myself, and uh, I I have to be where the action is. So decided I wanted to come to the US. Um, Convinced my parents that they would let me go there, but then my parents had a condition, which is you have to go somewhere we know people, and we knew people in Memphis, Tennessee. So
Oh,
so they
wow. I did not know that.
so they ended up sending me to Memphis, Tennessee. Um, and I did my undergraduate there and then also my graduate school. So I did my undergraduate in computer engineering, physics, and math, then did my graduate work in electrical engineering. Um, and I was very fascinated with just like space, so NASA and uh, also kind of like space technologies, so rockets and fusion and things like that. So I ended up uh, convincing my physics professor to convince the astrophysics chair of that department to let me work in her lab, which Dr. Marcini was the physics professor, and he was like very like everyone really respected him. So when he told her that I know he's like a first year college student, and usually Dr. Schmelz, who was my astrophysics professor, I don't think she hired like freshmen or sophomores. She only hired junior and senior people. But then she made an exception. She hired me, and I just fell in love with everything. So I did a lot of computer vision research there and primarily astrophysics. So we were analyzing the corona of the sun, which is the atmosphere of the sun. Um, and there's like this very interesting problem, which is like how you would kind of think about every light source. So when you move away from like a campfire, over time, it's less hot. And that's kind
Right.
of what happens with the sun and all stars, which is the center of the star has the highest temperature. And as you start moving out, it's less and less so. until you hit the surface of the sun, and then the temperature starts rising again. So we
Mm.
were trying to understand what's the cause of it, because it's very counterintuitive to how we understand um, energy to work and how we understood the sun to operate. So I did years and years of research, I think 6 years of research in
Wow.
astrophysics. Fell in love with computer vision, which was kind of like just using programming back then to understand um, just like the world, right? So be able to detect objects and automatically flag them and label them and things like that. So like I fell in love with that. Um, but I kind of quickly realized that uh, a lot of the work people were doing in academia, people were doing like arguably very fascinating stuff, but uh, they were working on like problems that had almost no real world impact
Right.
for decades. And I didn't want to do that, so I started thinking about what I wanted to do when I was out of college, and just got into building things. So got into just like kind of building back then applications, so a lot of iOS type, Android, iOS applications, web apps, um, and just through very organically built this app that would let people open up bank accounts on their phone. So I kind of like built that. And primarily, I built that as a part of the hackathon because my whole experience was when I came to the US, I couldn't open up a bank account. So then I was like, okay, like, and everything that I did at a bank branch to be able to open up a bank account was something I could have just done with computer vision. So I was like,
Right.
okay, maybe let's just use computer vision to do account opening. And then I did this like proof of concept application. Some people liked it. They introduced me to other people, and then other people, and other people, and then I had two um, kind of like very accomplished entrepreneurs, Jeff Webb and Doug Marchand in Memphis. They were like, "We'll give you some money if you wanna build this into something." So then I got my start, which is like I didn't know that I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but like I knew I wanted to build things, and I kind of enjoyed doing it. So then I started working on my first company, which was called Synapse. And I got into it because I was in love with computer vision and I just wanted to use that to do something. Um, and back then, the technology was not at a point as this. So all
Right.
you could just like do very simple things like read an ID or read a document digitally properly and things like that. So started that company. Worked on that for like about 10 years, had very high highs, very low lows, and kind of like took all of that experience and then started Foundation, which is my current company.
So what made you decide your current company foundation is developing humanoid robots, which feels like something out of science fiction. What are the world some real world problems that these robots are designed to solve?
Yeah, I mean, so the big reason for starting the company and also naming it Foundation is because, which like Foundation is named after the Asimov books. So uh, pretty much the whole impetus of this is I think AI and robotics is the most, probably the most profound technology of our lifetime. And either it can serve humanity or it can work against humanity. It's quite consequential.
Hmm.
I only saw two big competing visions of the future. The first vision was, by and large, what Hollywood propagates, which is, oh, these are Terminator robots and they're going to
Right.
like kill us and enslave us. It's either going to be like Terminator or Matrix. Um, and then the second, something that I felt like dangerously the entire Silicon Valley really got behind was universal basic income, which
Mm.
is, yeah, people are not going to have any jobs and we're going to just, give them a check every month. And that's how humanity is going to like progress further. Uh, which like I'm usually like pretty anti big government. So like that to me, that just sounded like a centralized government authority that probably is going to be inefficient, like most governments are, but then also very prone to be hijacked by nefarious actors. And I kind of compare that to the ring from the Lord of the Ring, which is it's bound to make anybody evil. It doesn't matter
Hmm.
how righteous they are. So it's like, okay, well, is there a third way AI and robotics could progress that would be um, better than universal basic income? And kind of the thought that I had was, well, if you can really democratize robotics, which is get it in hands of everybody, and anyone can buy these robots to be able to do like real hard labor. So build homes, farm, build infrastructure, defense and safeguard you and your environment. If these robots can do those kinds of things, then those are by and large the things that if let's say you yourself could have 10 different robots. You can now build your own house, farm your own food, meet all of your basic essential needs. And now you're free and not under a government check to do whatever you want to do with it. So the long-term vision for like foundation is pretty much that we want to be able to build um, we want to be able to build technologies that enable humanity to build and scale cities and infrastructure. And if you can do that really well, then you have a decentralized uh, um, world order where everyone has the essentials and basics met, and now they're free and not enslaved by anything to be able to do what they really want to do. So that's at the core of kind of like, and that's kind of the plot of Foundation, which is you have and like in the books, you have Foundation essentially go to different planets and build cities, and they are kind of like supposed to be these non-centralized um, freedom havens that people can over time live at and can avoid the dark ages. So like that's very philosophical, but that's at the core of what I really want to do with Foundation. So a lot of the work we do with our robots is we're kind of chipping away at these things, which is manufacturing, defense, construction, and farming. Construction and farming, not today, but manufacturing and defense. And there are lots of big needs in those areas where we think these robots can just do a lot of repetitive tasks that humans don't like doing, don't want to do, or a lot of dangerous things that humans don't like
Mm.
doing and don't want to do. Um, which there are tons of those in defense, and then there are tons of those also in factories and warehouses. Like factories and warehouses are not like fun environments to be in. Like they're by and large either too hot or too cold, depending on how the weather is outside. And you're just like standing there for 3 to 4 hours and then a break and then 3 to 4 hours straight to do a very repetitive, boring thing. And we think robots can just do that significantly more efficiently. And if more and more of that happens, um, I think that's just better for humanity.
You brought in Mike, your partner.
Yeah,
How did you hear about him? I want to hear your perspective. I interviewed him last week, as
yeah.
you know. And so what you you came up with this idea for the humanoid robotics, and then how did you hear about Mike?
I mean, so the rumors are that Mike and I met on Grindr, which are false. Uh, which are totally false, or maybe not. I don't know.
I
But
hadn't heard that one, but okay.
no, I will give you like the official story. The official story
Okay, the
was,
official.
yeah. So I was like in December 2020, uh, December 2023. I was really starting to think about Foundation in its current form, and by and large, I was like, I think the first skill to go after is defense. Like, I think that's like, if you really want to build the cities of the future and you build these cities better than any other city, it's like it's bigger than New York, more prosperous and better quality of living for everybody than New York, then the first thing that's going to happen is people are going to want to come in and steal stuff. So it's like we really have to teach them how to defend infrastructure. So I just
Mhm.
wanted to do defense only
Oh,
humanoid.
interesting. Okay.
Um, and Mike and I had a mutual friend who had been kind of like in the defense space for a while, and I was actually talking to him and I was kind of telling him what I wanted to pursue and what I wanted to do next. And he was like, I think the guy you should talk to is Mike. And because I'm like a product and engineering person, right? So I really just like build technology. And then to me, a really good co-founder would be somebody who has same values as me, but has opposite skill set, which is
Right.
go-to-market and customers, and who loves doing that, focuses on that. So I was trying to find that person, and then our mutual friend, Scott Sanders, he essentially introduced me to Mike, and initially more so it was because Mike was another robotics founder. So he was like, well, talk to him, see what his learnings are. And him and I just really got along. And then I think after my first call with him, I just flew down to see him pretty much the next day. Um, and then I went down to OC and Mike and I hung out for like hours. And it felt like we were friends already. And
Yeah.
um, then we just continued to talk. And as we continued to talk, we were like, I should do this together. I don't think we should do this separately. And I've, I've, I've never had like more of an overlap on, we're like on the same page mostly all the time. And I think like that's rare. So we're being on the same page mostly all the time, and then also having complementary skill sets is kind of like rare. So then yeah, I mean I just got together and we started building the company.
It's amazing. What industries will be most transformed by robotics at first?
I mean, I think at first it's going to be defense and industrial. I
Hmm.
like I know there are some companies that want to do home robots. Um, it's just the one at the beginning, these robots are going to be expensive, like any technology. Any new
Right.
technology starts off expensive and over time gets cheaper. So they're going to be cost prohibitive. And second, I think it's going to be a while before people believe that they're safe. First, they have to be safe, and then people have to believe they're safe.
Hmm.
And then the third thing is at homes, people really want robots to do almost anything. It's kind of like a maid, right? You want them to be able to do pretty much everything.
Right.
Um, and it's going to be few more iterations to technology before we can actually do pretty much anything. So for those reasons, I think like home use, one I think is the least value add from like like just from a civilizational perspective. If you look at it on the scale of what really would have the most profound effect on humanity. And then second, it's also it's going to take a little bit longer. So what's going to happen at the beginning is you're going to have these robots do tasks that are very repetitive,
Hmm.
uh, and that you have labor shortages for. You just don't have enough people to do them.
Right.
And then also tasks that are dangerous. So you'd prefer if humans don't do them. Uh, and that's usually like a good combination because you have a set of tasks that you just don't have enough labor for, and a set of tasks where you don't want to risk lives to do that labor. And I think those are kind of like the best ideal spots for these robots. And that's what we're focused on. We're focused on deploying robots in those environments. But,
How do you balance innovation with responsibility when building technology that can be used in sensitive environments?
I mean, so I think there are like different ways people can build organizations, and they all have their intended and unintended outcomes. There was this like prevailing thought in Silicon Valley that like trust and safety is a separate thing, right? Like, which is you
Hmm.
build a trusted safety team that sits outside, and their job is to kind of like monitor what the technology teams are doing and then flag risks. Um, uh, that became politically quite bastardized over the last decade because what ended up happening when we said trust and safety was much more so a lack of diversity of thought. Pretty
Hmm.
much everyone aligned on it was always good to do basic like these straightforward things. For instance, um, it was like you need to prioritize diversity over competence. And if you didn't do that, you were evil. and if you did it, then you were good. And like we had all of these different kinds of bastardized ideas that continue to get layered up in Silicon Valley. And I just think that's like the wrong way to think about it. Like I think the whole idea that humans that are building these products and technologies do not firsthand understand and care about the impact of the technology, I think is a
Hmm.
very, I think that's a very like cynical view on humanity. Um,
Right.
so what we've done is like we essentially screen for and hire people who are builders but also care about having a positive impact on the world. So like they
Right.
care about having these technologies be safe. They care about having these technologies have the intended impacts that you really want, versus not. And again, like we're humans, and this is a technology that's moving very fast. So you always will make mistakes. But I do think the better structure, organizational structure, is you build that as a part of your culture. It's not a separate thing. It's not some transplant that is put into the company. Every single team needs to think about trust and safety because
Hmm.
without that, I also don't think it's a viable long-term strategy. If your product isn't reliable, safe, people don't trust it, uh, not enough people are going to adopt it. So by
Right.
definition, I think it's a product problem. It's not like you don't need another political organization doing it. So to me, I think it's quite intertwined, which is we don't have a safety board, we don't have a trust and safety team. We just hire people that care about building these technologies in a responsible way and uh, uh, have the diversity of thought on understanding the nuance and building towards that nuance versus having this like very black and white doors that you cannot go through.
What excites you the most about where AI and robotics are heading over in the next decade?
I mean, I think to me, like I'm a big champion of this like cities of the future idea, right?
Hmm.
Like I think all of these autonomous technologies can greatly benefit humanity by making cost of everything like kind of free, right? So
Hmm.
like um, um, I if I if I remember the numbers right, I think in the US, if you just spread everybody out equally, then you have one person every 50 minutes.
Wow.
So it's like, okay, we have a lot of space, and nobody probably wants a 50-mile long house.
True.
So it's like, okay, so there's like a lot of space on Earth, and there's a lot of space in America. And right now we have clusters of them in cities, right? So you have San Francisco, a big hub, you have New York, a big hub, and quality of life in some of those areas, if you're wealthy, is good for you. If you're not, then it's like not as great. Um, I like to me the exciting thing about AI and robotics is we can create a world where a couple of key things can happen. One, let's just take autonomy, self-driving. So if
Hmm.
almost all the vehicles on the road are driving by themselves, as you might remember from iRobot, you will drive very fast. So by definition, there's like this chase scene with Will Smith in which the cars are going so fast, and like you're like, whoa, that's super fast. It's like, yeah, that's what happens when the cars are autonomous. So the cars will travel at a much faster speed than the current speed limits, which based on like my last back of the envelope calculation will enable you to increase the size of the city 4 to 5 times more, but you would still have about the same uh, reachability because it's going to take you less time to get from place A to place B in larger distances. So, okay, if you could really like increase the size of New York 5 times, at that point, you can have a much better housing for most people and a much better quality of living for most people. And then, second, you also don't have to be relegated to cities, right? You don't have to be relegated to San Francisco. You could very well have, I think more and more cities are going to get created automatically because the cost of building one would be so much lower. So that's the piece that really excites me about AI and robotics generally, which is we have this potential future in which all these things that today we think are highly coveted and not everybody has access to, almost everyone's going to have access to. Almost everyone can potentially have access to great food that is healthy, great housing, free transport, kind of like free medical attention, free education. So I think like that's the positive vision for AI and robotics that I'm most excited about, and I think that that's going to happen in our lifetime.
Wow, that's remarkable. What are some of the biggest technical challenges when you're building an autonomous humanoid robot?
I mean, it's one of the hardest engineering problems.
I can
It's
only
like,
imagine.
yeah, it's super hard because like what you're trying to do is you're kind of trying to build a system that took evolution about like 1 billion+ years to make, right? So like Earth is this giant supercomputer where we've been running a simulation on intelligence for 1 billion years plus. Um, and what we're really trying to do is we're trying to compress that in a very short timeline and build something that can match that sophistication. So just the order and magnitude of the challenge is quite difficult. What that really translates down into, again, like lots of problems to be fair, like I think people before us solved, right? So now we have very reliable cameras, we have very reliable electronics, um, very powerful computers are now democratized, right? Like you have a computer in your pocket that is more powerful than the Hubble Space Telescope. Like it's just
Wow.
crazy, right? So
Right.
um, so a lot of that stuff has become quite good, but now the set of challenges that remain is you are still building a dynamic system that is colliding with its environment on a constant basis, either because it's walking or it's interacting with objects.
Hmm.
In itself, that's a very tough mechanical challenge because unlike humans that have a lot of soft tissue, robots are just all metal. So when they move, it's just like if you only had bones. So
Right.
just the sheer wear and tear and resilience you need on the mechanical side is exceptionally high. Uh, then add to that, if you really like deconstruct like our agility and nimbleness, like the body and how flexible we are, and kind of like what different ways we can move, it's quite remarkable. And like being able to emulate that in a robot is another very hard challenge because every single what is called degree of freedom, so any kind of movement that I do, that is another like electrical component that you have to build, right? So it's another electrical mechanical component. And humans are like, we have a lot of degrees of freedom. We're quite agile. Um, so I think generally that is quite a tough and hard challenge. Then to layer that on top, you're also trying to build an intelligence stack that can some ways emulate and replicate what humans do, which is be able to listen to a task, break down that task in specific steps, be able to remember those steps, and then also plan and replan around those steps. Then understand, okay, how do I exactly interact with the environment? A water bottle, how tightly can I squeeze it before it breaks, or how slippery a surface is, all these different things, just the physics of the world that we learn as kids over time. Then teaching it to use its body to then perform those actions.
Right.
Like every single layer of it is like
So
right at the
much.
cutting edge, and it's a massive engineering challenge. So it's probably one of the hardest problems to work on in our lifetime.
How fragile are they, the robots? I
Um,
mean, I've seen them when we're on shoots and sometimes they fall down and they
yeah,
seem pretty sturdy, but
yeah. I mean,
is that a key? Is that a big factor in like if they fall or they, something happens, how important
yeah.
is that?
I mean, I think it's very important, right? So the current robots you're seeing behind me can essentially withstand um, about 10 to 12 G's transient, right? So when they fall, and you've seen them fall a
Hmm.
few times, and they get back up and they're back up and running.
Right.
Um, that's also not an easy challenge. Like that's a hard mechanical engineering and electrical engineering challenge. Um, but then Phantom 2, the next robot we're making, can just the order of magnitude can survive about 100 transients. So it's about 10x more reliable. So
Wow.
if it falls, it can take a much worse fall, 10 times worse fall, and still survive. Um, and that's very important because, like again, if the goal is that these robots are going to build and maintain your infrastructure, they have to be quite robust to do it. So, um, unlike other people also in the industry, what we've really focused on is we've really focused on building like capable, strong robots. We think that's like an important thing because the tasks we want them to do. Uh, so the robot behind me can do about 20 to 30 kgs continuous payload. So it can like hold and lift about 20 kgs, 30 kgs, and walk around with it. The next generation robot can lift about 80 kgs, 80
Wow.
continuous payload. Uh, yeah, I think you have to make them quite robust and strong. Um, and generally they're like uh, um, generally you don't have to worry about it much, but like as you start putting these robots in more and more unstructured environments, they're going to take a lot of faults and they're going to take a lot of kind of like beating, and they want you need them to be able to survive that and not every time the robot falls, it cannot go to like the robot hospital. It just
The
wouldn't
robot
work.
hospital.
Yeah.
Right, right.
So yeah, we tend to make them pretty strong.
Is the Department of War using them now?
They are. So we have worked with the U.S. Army, Navy, Air Force. We've done a lot of, contrary to popular belief, the robots today do not pick up a gun and go out and shoot people. They don't do that. What they do instead is uh, inspection and supply pickup. So a lot of logistics type workflows. That's the
Hmm.
first big thing, right? For us, there's a lot of stuff in the military that happens behind the scenes that we think these robots can just do, just like how they can do in industrial environments. So that's been currently our focus for last year and a half. This year, we're also starting to, slightly later this year, we will also start focusing on reconnaissance. So being able to breach buildings and go and map the environment, because that's where soldiers suffer the most amount of fatalities and losses. Because you're
Hmm.
going into an unknown environment and you don't know where the enemy is, and sometimes you put yourself in a dangerous situation. We want these robots to do that work next, which we want to commence later this year. Um, and then next year, once we have a more dexterous hand than what we have today, because today the hand is kind of like it doesn't have the
Right,
same degrees of freedom that a human does.
right.
So once we have that hand, then we work on tool use. So that is including weapons. You'd still have humans in the chain of command, but you do want the robots to be able to use pretty much all the tools that humans use today, including weapons that you use as a part of warfare.
Has Mike's background in the military been helpful to you from this perspective that you're how you're expanding it to doing different things? Like, does he give you a lot of input?
I mean, I think more than anything else, it's shined light for me in terms of
Because I
how
would
important.
imagine he looks at things differently than you do because
Yeah,
he has been in that. So I would think
yeah,
that would be helpful.
yeah. I mean, it's like helpful in a big way, and primarily just to be able to um, just to be able to appreciate and get passionate about the fact that it is important to give the most cutting edge and modern technology to our soldiers. Like
Right.
there is real impact when you don't do that. And I kind of like academically understood that before, but
Hmm.
obviously getting to know Mike and working with him, now I practically understand it, which is how important that piece is in itself. And then again, Mike's like generally good at all of like the commercial go-to-market stuff. So what tasks, identification of those tasks, what opportunity that comes with, all that stuff. Obviously, Mike has been like very very helpful on, because he really helps figure out, okay, well, these are the current capabilities of the robot, and what are the commercial opportunities that sit for those current capabilities and marrying that. Uh, but I would say kind of like the bigger thing is when I started Foundation, and now I think I'm now more passionate about giving the most cutting edge and modern technologies to the soldiers, because like to me, I kind of like relate. Um, I see kind of like Mike in them. So, and Mike's my friend, and I obviously would want him to be safe, and then
Right.
I'd want them to be safe as well.
What does a typical day look like for you as a founder of a robotics company?
Um, I mean, I spend good portion of my time on product imaging. So like a majority of my time is spent on either manufacturing, AI, kind of phantom to high dexterity hand, kind of working with the teams on all of those products and projects. Uh, that's like majority of my day. And then some days, obviously, depending on if I'm in the middle of a fundraise, then that goes up or down, which is a lot of investors. So tours, conversations, calls, uh, but majority of my time is just either I'm talking to investors or I'm sleeping or I'm working on technology. Like it's those are kind of like just the three modalities.
What do you think humans will always do better than machines?
I mean, I struggle with that question because like a part of it is like I also think you just have to have humility in uh like I just don't want to get too complacent and oh, there's no way robots or AI is ever going to be able to do it. But there are things currently that I think are like magical about humans. Instinct and intuition is one of them.
Mm,
Um, like one thing that humans are really, really like, especially like when you work with people who are really good at what they do, what they become really good at is being able to look behind closed doors and see what's around the corner. And like the instinct of a pilot who's really well trained flying an aircraft is still unmatched to
right,
a drone flying autonomously.
right.
Would at some point we would figure out a way to give those kinds of instincts? Uh, Probably, but today it doesn't seem like we're close. Then the second thing that is quite remarkable about the human brain is how little data we need to start doing something well, compared to
Hmm.
robots that need a lot of data to be able to get really good at basic tasks. Then the third thing that is really, really good about humans is we consume on a relative scale significantly less energy than what AI and compute spends on, right? Uh, uh, like we have a pretty like based on all performance benchmarks, like our brain is kind of like a supercomputer that is sitting in our head, which most compute clusters, so very large data centers, would still not be able to compete with in terms of the same thing, right? Like how quickly do we learn something new, the instincts and insights we build with it. So I think like what we have is a very remarkable, what I call like a meat computer sitting in our skull. It's like it's it's great on so many areas. Uh, but I also don't think I think at some point we would learn how to distill those down in in robots and AI. But as of today, like those pieces about humans are totally unmatched.
And what will the robots do better than humans, if anything?
I mean, I think robots are good at. I think there are going to be like two things robots are going to be are today good at. One is um, it's you today now have the smartest artificial intelligence in your pocket that is
Hmm.
smart, that kind of like is more knowledgeable of more subjects than any single human. Right in your fingertips, you can open up Chat GPT, Claude, Grok. They're well educated about more diverse topics than any single individual would. So um, just that intellectual depth in information is significantly higher as as an individual than what AI has today. Um, and then I think the second piece that robots are actually significantly better at than humans is doing repetitive things. Like we have a lot of biochemistry working against us, where things like boredom and annoyance and
Hmm.
depression and distractions get in the way. Robots and AI doesn't seem to have that. They can just continue to keep on doing the same thing again and again and again and
Hmm.
again. Now, part of it is it's because like their cortex, so their brain is, as it stands today, significantly less developed than human brain, right? Like we have so many different layers, emotions, empathy, all of this stuff that comes on top, that these robots kind of don't today. So I think what they have going in their favor is very similar to what ants have going in their favor, which is the intellectual dexterity is high enough to do useful things, but quite low to what humans are. So like humans just have a much more complicated system running in our heads. But like robots are really good at just doing the same thing again and again and again and again and again. And like they don't get distracted. The performance doesn't get worse. It scales, it gets better.
They don't
Actually,
get bored. They don't
they
get
don't get
like,
bored. Yeah.
right. If everything works the way you envision it, what impact could humanoid robotics have on the global workforce or economy?
I mean, I think the most profound impact would be housing and education and food and medical assistance and goods and services would be close to free. Um, so I think that that's the most exciting thing for me because I think people should, like, I think humans, at least, I feel like humans are purpose driven. They would much rather spend time on things that they find purpose and joy in. And flipping burgers at McDonald's just so you can afford a bad apartment is not like, I don't think people enjoy doing it. They have to do it because the society has been built that way. Um,
Right.
and I think one of the biggest impacts that I'm most excited about for humanoids is okay, now all of those things happen autonomously, and guess what? You can also build homes for you. You can also farm for you. You can do all these different things, and all the basic stuff, which is like kind of when I say basic, that's an understatement. That's by and large kind of like really good quality of life, would be baseline free for everybody. And I think that's the piece that I'm most excited about.
How do you personally recharge or disconnect from work?
Um, I mean,
Or do
I
you
don't,
ever disconnect from work? It's
I
hard
don't
when you're a CEO. It's not 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. It's
I think this is the most I feel fortunate to be able to do what I get to do. And look, in my previous company, um, I was in my early 20s, and like I would have these times where I would just like completely dislike the fact that I was in the position I was in. I was like, um, yeah, I was like not I wasn't happy about it. And like something just changed over the years in my brain where I'm like, man, this is like the most fortunate thing I get to do. Uh, so I don't like I have stress, like I get stressed out, but I don't really like I, I don't burn out and like I don't need a break. What I do like is there are other things um, that are also joyful. So spending time with Chelsea, spending time with my partner, my
mm,
friends, my family, Andy is my dog. Like doing those things, connecting with people, which are like for me, I'm not that social. So it's a very small circle of people. Um,
right.
so that I do enjoy doing, but like I think my baseline is I'm by and large all 7 days thinking about work or working, and not because it's kind of like uh, I'm what I'm supposed to do. It just happens to be just what I like doing, and I just enjoy doing what I do, so I just continue to do it.
I get it. What helps you stay creative and focused when you're solving difficult problems?
Going on walks and talking out loud.
Yeah.
Like my biggest thing for problem solving is if I feel stuck, just go on a walk and like either I call Mike or I call Chelsea or call somebody and I just like start talking about whatever it is that's bothering me. Um, and 30, 45 minutes into a walk, you'd be very surprised like how I think we need to study more why this happens. Obviously, there's an element of oxytocin and kind of like you just have more endorphins and your brain gets a little bit more clearer, you're sharp, and then you have more creative juice flowing. So kind of like that piece is very important uh, to just be able to do. So like to me, the biggest thing is if I get stuck, going on a walk and thinking about it and talking about it is the single most consistently useful thing uh,
Mhm.
that that I can do.
Coffee or tea?
Neither. Water.
Water. There you go.
I mean,
Early morning. Go
I've
on.
now so couple of things that people find very annoying about me. I don't put on I don't put on an alarm to wake up in the morning. I haven't for like 15 years or so. I just wake up naturally whenever, and usually I wake up between 6 to 7 a.m. Uh, and I don't drink tea. I don't drink coffee. I by and large just do water. Recently, I've started trying coffee, but I don't drink coffee in the morning. I also drink coffee um, around like 11, 12 p.m. because
Hmm.
it has been a good appetite suppressant. So that helps me normalize blood sugar and then
Hmm.
um, helps me not get fat. So that's kind of like it's
You're
like a
not fat.
natural GLP. So I've started to experiment with coffee that way, but then I don't drink coffee over the weekends. And like as soon as I start feeling like coffee is being drunk, I'm drinking coffee for energy, I'd probably stop. So
Where's your happy place?
it's my happy place. Um, yeah, I've like few happy places. I think um, again, spending time with Chelsea, Andy usually is like pretty nice. I enjoy
Yeah.
doing that. And the other kind of like very dorky happy place for me is in the middle of something that is technically dense. So like anything that's like a dense technical thing, if I spend a lot of time on it, I get so happy. So like being able to just do that, and for me that's like sometimes it's so abstract and not really related to foundation. Sometimes it's very related to foundation. But like I just I I'm an engineer at heart, so I kind of just love um, mulling through technical problems. And like as I start going into layers of it, I think like it used to be in my 20s when I would start doing that. Like I wouldn't know when it was morning and night, and I'd just like continue to do it. And now I'm just more aware of it, and I'm also better at it. Like I don't take as long, but that's also my other happy place. I really kind of like that feels like a good days of work for me. It's like just
Yeah.
being able to do something that's technically dense and working through it and making sense of it.
Early mornings or late nights?
I'm for sure a late nights person
Ah, interesting.
because it's like everything calms down and you don't have as many distractions, and now you can just think more clearly, and there's this like silence meditative state that exists in the world because most people have fallen asleep, and I find that to be like my highest energy time. One of the most kind of like um, annoying things for both Chelsea and Andy is that like at night I have what they call zoomies, so like I have a lot of energy, so then I want to spend more time. I'm gonna talk. I'm excited, and
Yeah.
usually I'm going back home at like 9 p.m., 10 p.m. Sometimes, sometimes 8, but most like 9 or 10 p.m. And then I have a lot of energy. And because now Andy is like 6 years old. When he was a puppy, he would really enjoy that energy, and now
Yeah.
he's just like,
Now he's like, Dad, I'm tired. Like,
he's like, leave me
calm down.
alone,
Leave.
please. And
Yeah.
he just like goes, which is fine. But yeah, I'm for sure a night person.
What would people be surprised to know about you?
I mean, I don't know if people would be like surprised, but maybe people would be. I love pizza. Like, and when I say I love pizza, I mean
Like,
I
love it.
like
I
I
think we have
know,
that in common.
yeah.
Isn't it
It's
like the
like,
happy? That's my happy place, eating some pizza.
yeah, but the thing is like I love pizza to a point where I'm so opinionated about it that I
Really?
could
So tell me something that you love or really can't have with a pizza, thick or thin
what
crust. What's your fave?
okay, so like the first controversial opinion I have is nothing else is pizza except a margarita pizza. Everything
Oh,
else,
you've got rules about this. Okay.
everything else is bread and cheese and distraction. Like it's just total hedonistic. The only real pizza is because I think it's art, right? You have to get the crust right, you have to
Right.
get the sauce right, you have to get the cheese right, and then you have to get the basil right. That's it. Those are all the variables you have.
That's
There's
it.
nothing else. And
Okay.
you can either mess that up, which most people do, or you can make that into something that is just delicious. And there are very few places that do a really good job with it. So I'm very annoyingly opinionated about pizza.
And where's your
And
favorite place for pizza in the world?
actually in Sausalito. So in San Francisco,
Ah.
Sausalito, there's this place called Aurora that is by
Oh,
far
yes.
still my favorite place. Now, obviously, I've had like great pizza in Italy, and I've also had really great pizza in Munich because uh, Germany, Munich has like a large Italian population. So my second favorite spot is actually in Munich, which is right next to our office in Munich. Uh, but those two places, which is Aurora and Munich, they know how to make margarita pizza, and the crust is never dry, it's never too soggy, it's just right, and the sauce is fresh, and just enough cheese, not too much, not too little, and the base is fresh.
I love
And
that.
and obviously you need people in the US, people do like chili flakes, but what you really need is a chili oil. That is like,
Ah, that's the key.
yeah.
What is your favorite self-care and diet tip, if you have any?
Uh, Self-care is go on walks and hikes. It's like it's so good for your longevity in your body. It's just like, and it's really good for your brain too. And I think it's such a low effort activity that you can do in most cases because you can walk anywhere. So it's like I think uh, that piece. Um, then on the diet side, when I really want to feel healthy, this is, by the way, a second thing that might be surprising to people. Um, I think like a poke bowl is a cheat code that has been invented. Okay, this thing is, I think of a poke bowl as like you're going, if you're Catholic, you're going to confession. You feel that pure after it because it's delicious, but it's super healthy. You just
Right.
have fish, some rice, edamame. Maybe you have some more vegetables in it, and it's filling. It is delicious, and it is so healthy. So I think it's such a cheat code.
Oh, good. Okay. Is there a book that you would recommend to entrepreneurs?
I mean, I do think so. There are a lot of good books, right? Like I think if you read Steve Jobs' biography, that's good. Elon Musk's both biographies are pretty good. But I think like one book that I always kind of find back and back again I go to is Meditations
Mm,
from Marcus Aurelius. And it is just uncanny to me that that book to this day is relatable,
that
which
is
is crazy.
remarkable. It's
Like I
true.
think that one book I think just is such a general good framework of living, which by and large for me the book is like you read it and you're reading someone who's like human because he never intended it to be public. He was writing it for himself and he was struggling with stuff. And then he was kind of like, no, you have to get up, you have to do this. I know you don't want it, but you have to do it. And it's like just reading that and being like, yeah, you just have to be a grown up. Just like do the shit,
Yeah.
even if you don't like it. I think like meditations, and that's why I think I think probably like the favorite Stoic book for almost anyone who's kind of like more so Stoic. And I think most entrepreneurs are Stoics. So by definition, I think that would be the most uh, highly recommended book in my opinion.
What motivates you more, curiosity or competition?
I wish I knew. Because I think both of them really motivate me. I don't like losing, so like there's a big motivation of that. But then I do think kind of I think I don't like the issue with having competition motivate you is you can pretty much find purpose in anything because everything's like a video game. Um, what I like is kind of like I like a mission that you can like really, really get behind. So then it's like curiosity and something that you want to desperately see exist in the world. That becomes your baseline of motivation. And then obviously competition drives you to get there faster. So I think it's like a blend of both. I don't think it's one or the other, but I think,
Yeah, I agree.
yeah, I think a competition alone could be uh, a road to kind of living a life that in hindsight you would be like, um, you don't feel was purpose-led. While if you marry both of them, then you have a very purpose-led life, which is also competitive. Because I do think for you to be successful, you have to be highly competitive.
Definitely. And I think it's the balance of the two, right?
It's kind of like in Star Wars. It's like the good the you have to have the balance of the Force. So it's
Right.
it's kind of the same thing. Yeah.
Is there anything that I have not asked you that you'd like to share?
Ah, anything that you have not asked me, I'd like to share. I mean, what I'd like to share is I know you're doing makeup for Chelsea for her wedding, but you're probably
I
going to have to
am.
do double shoot. You're going to have to do me and her.
Of course, I'm going to do both of you.
Yeah.
Duh. I'm not
Yeah.
letting you do anything in life until I've waved my little wand on you.
That's the big thing. That's the big
Oh,
thing.
you're so sweet. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for joining me and sharing your insights into robotics and AI and the future of technology. It's incredible to hear from people who are not just imagining the future, but are actually building it. Thank you to everyone that's watching. Please like, subscribe, comment. I'm Christina Flack, and I'm too busy, and I'll see you next week. Thank you.